Undoubtedly, one of the biggest brands of the past 40 years has got to be Apple. So how did Apple get to be the brand that it is today? Well, in this two-part video series, I'll look at the Apple brand and break it down from, in this video, the internal brand. And in the second part of this two-part video series, I'll look at the external brand. I will take a look at how they built the brand over time and developed into the global brand they are today. So by 1996, Apple was on the verge of bankruptcy. With dwindling market share, a lackluster brand strategy, and the brand being really confused about its place in the market, it needed to do something to change that up. So Apple brought back Steve Jobs after 10 years away from the company, and this is where the Apple that we know today started to take shape. Prior to being brought back by Apple, Steve Jobs was at Pixar, and this was profound for him. He learned new skills to do with storytelling, how to focus on one project at a time, and then align the whole company behind that project to launch it. This is something that we would later see with the Apple product launches. Apple's internal brand. So it was around this time that Steve Jobs decided to simplify the Apple brand and focus it around one core purpose. And that was that Apple makes technology so simple that everyone can be part of the future. This consumer-driven focus to bring technology to the masses in a simple way was at complete odds with the existing tech industry. With its industry jargon, complicated interfaces, and a focus on technology as opposed to the consumer, whereas Apple did something different and flipped that round on its head. This one simple idea had begun the process of positioning Apple outside the existing tech industry, so away from the rest of the pack as something different. Apple's vision: to make the best products on earth and leave it in a better place than we found it. Now this vision is in keeping with the simple idea and the purpose of the previous statement, so the brand purpose being about bringing technology to the masses in a simple way. This vision statement ties straight into that. And Apple are kind of stating here that they want to bring the best customer experience to their audience. So they are focusing on the consumer throughout their whole process, throughout this brand strategy, how they're positioning themselves and how they are standing up against the existing industry is all to do with the consumer, simplifying and bringing the best experiences to that customer. Apple's mission: to bring the best user experiences to its customers through its innovative hardware, software and services. So when you create a vision and a mission statement, you want them to line up. So the vision is the ultimate goal for your brand, and the mission wants to be how you're going to achieve that vision. So in Apple's case, the vision being to make the best products on earth and leave the world better than they found it. The way they're going to do that is to bring the best user experience to its customers through the innovative hardware, software and services. So in order to make the best products, Apple is going to create the best hardware, software and services, and the experience for the customer is going to be their primary focus. Apple's brand values. Now, Apple's values continue the theme of simplicity, along with delivering customer excellence, and also not having jargon in their speak, in their tech talk. So removing all of that tech talk that you'd find elsewhere in the industry and having a jargon-free communication is really important to Apple, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring technology to the masses so that everyone can be part of that future. So by instilling values in their employees of simplicity, focusing on customer experience and removing jargon from any communications, what you're doing is you're enabling that process to deliver on the purpose that you've set out to achieve the vision you're trying to reach. Hit the like button below if you're enjoying the video so far, and also comment below with your views on Apple. Do you think it's a good brand? Do you think it's a great brand? Or are you more of a Microsoft person? Let us know in the comments below. Brand positioning. So Apple focusing around simplicity, the consumer-driven approach, united around the consumer-driven focus outlined by Jobs, Apple had found their point of difference. This positioning allowed Apple to rally against the growing frustration a lot of people had with technology, and to build a community around that frustration that they could then serve with their products and services, acting as a disruptor in the space. There's no better example of this than the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC adverts of the 90s and the early 2000s that really helped to cement in the audience's mind the differences between Mac and PC, or whether or not you're a Mac person or a PC person. The great thing about these ads was not only that the more desirable character of the two, if you're looking at it from an objective point of view, is going to be the Mac, but also the adverts served as a way to point out all of the frustrations that community had with existing machines. So things like they would constantly play on the idea of Windows Vista not being as good as it could be, or some of the operating update problems that it had with Windows computers. By doing this, they firmly cemented in the minds of people this doubt in technology, in traditional technology. So a focus on the industry as a whole as being something that is unreliable, that is difficult to get to grips with, that isn't simple. Whereas on the other hand, everything that isn't said about the Mac in those adverts is what the Mac is positioning itself as. Brand personality. So with the positioning being set up as the disruptor, as rallying against the existing industry that was for the people, the obvious choice of an archetype to characterize this brand was that of the outlaw. So rebellious, purpose-driven, and not afraid to rally against the status quo. And it's exactly what Apple did. And their personality was all about that. They were taking on the industry with the way that they did their adverts, the way they did their marketing, the way they presented themselves. It was completely different from the status quo. A great example of this archetype and personality of Apple being used is the Think Different campaign. And you don't get a better example because in the advert they literally call out the dreamers, the thinkers, the rebels from the audience that's watching the ad. And that is completely the outlaw archetype at work. And it's about building that rebellious spirit in people, getting them to think differently, challenge the industry as it is and rally against it. And they really built not only a brand around that, but a community of like-minded individuals that were looking to get free of that tech industry in the way that it imprisoned them in frustration and break free of that into a world of creativity. And that's what Apple managed to capture, that zeitgeist, that wave at the time, but also they embodied it. They became the poster for it. Now, Apple and Steve Jobs also have a good amount of the creator archetype in them, especially when it comes to product development and the way they deliver on those products in the launches that they do. And this creates a really interesting archetype mix, a balance of the outlaw, the expressive, rebellious side of the brand, and the creator, the more creative, thinking, problem-solving part of the brand. You can see recently actually that they've drifted away from the outlaw and they've gone a bit more pedestrian. They're focusing more on the every person archetype, the regular guy, regular girl archetype. And what that has done is they've lost a bit of their momentum and that drive and that charge that they used to have, the freshness about them. And potentially that's something they're going to need to reignite in the brand because they've moved away from that outlaw archetype which defined them. And they're kind of, at the moment, it's a bit pedestrian. Key takeaway. When Steve Jobs came back, he focused Apple into a single idea of simplicity for the masses. And that idea meant that he could build a vision of the future, and then they created a mission to help them get to that vision, and they could create values that would help to build that brand culture. And it was made so much easier by boiling it all down to a simple idea they were trying to achieve. And from that came the differentiation strategy and the positioning, and also the birth of the brand personality from those positions. You would never have got to an outlaw archetype, a rebellious spirit in the brand, if you hadn't first have realized that they were trying to do something that was completely different from the existing industry. So the key points to learn from what Apple did with the brand, the internal brand, is focus on one thing that you can solve and then work out from that your vision, your mission, your values, and then how you're going to develop that personality of the brand and start to build that out. Who are you as a brand? What do you stand for? What do you stand against? How does that character develop in the brand? So focus on one thing that you can do that is going to be the core of everything you do as a brand, and look into that purpose and how you can develop that and build upon that. In part 2 of this case study, in the next video, what we'll look at is how Apple took this internal brand and they took the idea and they developed it into their external brand. So how they developed their visual identity, how they took forward some of the marketing campaigns and some of the ideas, and even into the Apple stores, and how they are designed, how they're built, how they're positioned internally. We're going to take that and look at it in this second part of this video. The first step to building an iconic brand and a memorable one like Apple is to understand your brand and also to align it. It needs to be unified across your whole brand. Now, that can be a hard thing to understand, where you're strong, where you're weak, and where could use improving in your brand and through those brand layers. So if you're interested, we actually have a free brand assessment. It's kind of like a health check for your brand, and it takes 4 minutes. It's about 25 questions long, and you'll get a score at the end of it, which will let you know which areas of your brand need improving, which are strong, and how you can do that. So if you're interested, there is a link in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, videos come out weekly, and they're designed to help you unlock your brand's potential so you can stand out from the competition and create impact. Please subscribe using the button below this video and hit the bell notification so that you'll be notified every time a new video drops. Have a great week, catch up soon, and keep those brands unified.